The law has taken its course with a pronouncement in favor of one of its own, this time the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria. Today, the Federal Capital Territory High Court dismissed a suit alleging that the acting CJN falsified his age. The plaintiff, Mr. Tochi Michael, had alleged that Justice Tanko Mohammed reduced his age by 3 years. Justice Danlami Sanji, in his ruling, said the plaintiff does not have a locus standi to file such a suit, as he has not shown how the allegations of falsification of age will cause him any personal injury over and above the general public. Besides dismissing the suit, Justice Danlami Sanji also ordered that the Chief Registrar of the Supreme Court begin a disciplinary action against the plaintiff's counsel, Mr. Melchizedek Zaro, for unprofessional conduct, as an act capable of bringing the judiciary to disrepute cannot be allowed to go unpunished.
Judgment was delivered by the court dismissing the claim of the plaintiff or the claimant, wherein I sought some declarations, among others, that the acting CJN fraudulently falsified his age and sundry criminal allegations. But let me say this. What the claimant has done was nothing but a reckless deployment of the judicial process against a serving judicial officer when he knows that he doesn't have a single iota of evidence to sustain such allegations. It was quite unfortunate and it's quite sad. But like the trial judge said, the counsel that filed the matter, I think what he did was quite unprofessional, because the deponent to the affidavit state clearly that apart from his own personal knowledge, other informations were supplied by his counsel. That is quite unprofessional. And maybe the last may not have been heard of this matter.
And staying with the judiciary, an Abuja High Court presided over by Justice Peter Afen has ordered the remand of Mr. Samuel Umaru and Philomena Chieze in the custody of the EFCC, pending the hearing of their bail application fixed for Monday, June the 3rd, 2019. Mr. Umaru, who is the state coordinator of the JAMB zonal office in Benue State, and Philomena Chieze, a clerical officer, are accused of criminal misappropriation of 35 million naira. The EFCC also arraigned the Plateau State Coordinator of JAMB, Mr. Yakubu Jakada, on 4 counts bordering on criminal misappropriation of over 11 million naira between 2009 and 2016. Mrs. Chiese became popular when she made a claim that a mysterious snake swallowed about 35 million naira in cash arising from the sale of JAMB cards in Benue State.
On the 9th of February 2018, a mystery snake is said to have sneaked into the accounts office of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, and made away with 35,480,000 naira cash. Until recently, JAMB candidates purchased scratch cards from JAMB state and zonal offices and other designated centers to gain access to the board's website for registration or checking of their admission status. But the reforms introduced by the current JAMB registrar, Professor Isaac Oloyede, stopped the use of scratch cards. A team of auditors dispatched to different state and zonal offices of JAMB to take inventory of the sold and unsold scratch cards, however discovered some anomalies, which prompted the invitation of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. In the course of interrogation, Philomena Cheche allegedly confessed that it was her housemate that connived with another JAMB staff, Juan Ashin, to spiritually steal the money from the vault in the accounts office through a snake. At the trial of the defendants in Abuja, Mr. Samuel Umaru, a state coordinator, pleaded not guilty to the 8-count charge of criminal breach of trust and misappropriation of over 35 million naira. Philomena Cheche, a clerical officer, also pleaded her innocence to the charges preferred against her. In a separate charge, Mr. Yakubu Jakada, who was arraigned on a 4-count charge of criminal misappropriation of 11 million naira, pleaded not guilty. lawyer to the defendants, immediately applied for their bail, but the prosecutor says he needs time to respond to their bail application. Lawyers to the parties, however, declined speaking to journalists. With arguments for and against the bail application, the arraignment of 3 other officers, Daniel Agbo, Priscilla Agbo, and Aliu Yakubu, was stalled as Justice Peter Afen declined taking their plea. He ordered the EFCC to remand the defendants in their custody pending the hearing on the termination of the defendants whose pleas have been taken.
And staying in the courts, the Court of Appeal sitting in Lagos has upheld the judgment of the Federal High Court, which ordered the permanent forfeiture of the sum of 1.4 billion naira, which a firm, Melrose General Services Limited, obtained from the Nigeria Governors Forum through false claims. Justice Mojisola Olatoregun of the Federal High Court in Lagos had on April the 27th, 2018, ordered the final forfeiture of the said amount to the federal government. Dissatisfied with the verdict, Melrose General Services approached the appellate court and asked it to set aside the verdict of Justice Olatoregun. But in a unanimous judgment written by Justice Tijani Abubakar, the appeal court agreed with Justice Olatoregun that the money should be permanently forfeited to the federal government. The appeal court also held that Melrose Limited could not show that the said funds were lawfully earned by it. Well, it's a day in the courts, and a Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has been told that one of its judges, Justice Rita Ofili Ajomogobia, who is facing a money laundering charge before the court, has been hospitalized in a Lagos hospital. This development stalled proceedings today before Justice Rilwan Aikawa. Her lawyer had presented a letter to the court indicating that the presence of the defendant was vital for proceedings to continue, and therefore asked the court to grant an adjournment. But the EFCC prosecutor, Mr. Rotimi Oyedepo, in his response, told the court the content of the letter presented to the court did not indicate that the defendant was pale nor distressed, as he argued that it should not be a basis for stopping the trial. The court, however, requested to verify from the husband of the defendant, who was in court, if she was still on admission, and the husband confirmed that the defendant was still on admission. The court thereafter adjourned the case until June the 24th for hearing on the pending applications. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission charged Justice Ophelia Jomogobia and a senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Obla, on 18 counts, bordering on conspiracy, unlawful enrichment, retention of crime proceeds, and money laundering. Away from legal matters now, global rights group Amnesty International launched an 8-point human rights agenda today. The rights group is asking the federal and state governments to urgently implement recommendations from previous reports about human rights violations in Nigeria. Amnesty International is also seeking the abolition of the death sentence, as well as an end to torture as a means of extracting information from suspects during interrogations.
Over the years, Amnesty International has documented reports about human rights abuses across Nigeria. Some of those reports are often very critical about the operations of government agencies, especially the police and the Nigerian military.
Thank you very much.
At this news conference in Abuja, the human rights organization is not releasing a new report, but is proposing 8-point human rights agenda for the new political dispensation in Nigeria. The organization wants government to end violence against women and girls, stop torture, and abolish death penalty.
The new government must end human rights violations and abuses in Nigeria, and it can only do so by acting promptly and efficiently to reports of violations and strengthening mechanisms to ensure justice for past abuses. End torture, enforce disappearances and extrajudicial executions. 6. Secure economic, social and cultural rights. 7. Protect the civic space and improve the operating environment for human rights defenders and activists. 8. Abolish the death penalty and commute all death sentences.
However, while some lawyers agree with Amnesty International on the issue of torture as a means of extraction from suspects, they disagree with the human rights organization on their quest to abolish death penalty.
The fundamental human rights that everyone is entitled to, you must be treated like a human being. They should ask you questions. And it's also the place of the police officers to do their own investigation appropriately. Not that they will now come up to the arrested person and the accused person and then start trying to use force to get information from the person.
Each country has its own law. So it is not an issue of one day issue that, well, you should abolish death sentence. Why should they abolish it? Draconic position requires draconic measures. There are many schools of thought on that, but let me tell you, all over the world, it's still there. Even in the United States of America, we have states that still have death penalty there.
Although many countries around the world have abolished capital punishment, death penalty is still practiced in some countries, including China, the United States, Indonesia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Iran.
The Ogun State Assembly has passed a bill nullifying all appointments, employment and financial agreements done by former Governor Ibikule Amoson between February the 9th and May the 28th. The passage of the bill, titled Nullification of Irregularities Amendment Law 2019, follows the suspension of the Assembly's standing orders 45 to 48 to allow for the consecutive second and third readings of the bill. The Deputy Speaker, Olakunle Oluomo, explains that the bill was an amendment to the one earlier passed by the Assembly at the inception of former Governor Amoson's administration to reverse all irregularities. Mr. Oluomo noted that the last-minute appointments, upgrading and employment by the last administration did not follow due process, lacked merit and was lopsided. He equally submitted that all transactions with any financial institution done by the Amoson administration and not approved by the House of Assembly should not be honored by the current government. The Assembly also passed a resolution asking the state governments to immediately dissolve all chairmen and members of statutory boards and parastatals having been paid their severance allowances by the immediate past administration. The lawmakers also called for the reversal and review of the upgrading of traditional rulers done within the same period. The Speaker, Suraj Adekunbi, directed that a clean copy of the bill be forwarded to the new governor, Dakwa Abiodun, for his assent.